Hi, everybody. Hope that folks are doing well. First and foremost, I want to wish you all the best from here in South Bend. I hope that you're keeping safe amid a time that is bringing us so many challenges and a time of anguish in the life of our country, especially as we continue to confront the effects of systemic racism in every part of American life, including but not limited to what's going on in policing and in the criminal legal system. I just wanted to offer a couple of thoughts and let you know some of the things that I think all of us can be doing in order to be part of the solution. Right now, as we continue to see the injustice that happens in every part of this country, as George Floyd was laid to rest, as America continues to look at the killing of Breonna Taylor and the lack of charges, as case after case reminds us that there has not been a reckoning in this country or a way that has been achieved for this country to demonstrate that black lives are in fact valued equally. It lays at our feet a crisis that in many ways has been 400 years in the making. It's up to us, all of us, to decide whether this time is going to be different. And then on top of that, yesterday, I think should have all of us very concerned with what we saw take place in Georgia. Democracy is the most powerful toolkit that we have to make change in this country, and yet, in the most consequential democracy in the last 2,000 years, the United States of America, we saw in Georgia that it was not possible for so many voters to be able to exercise that fundamental right. This is one more example of how this is not only about the presidency, though we know we need a different president as soon as possible. This is state and local officials who are responsible for handling elections. And in the case of Georgia, this lies squarely at the feet of the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State had months to get this election right. It was actually rescheduled twice, and he failed to do that. Georgians, in some cases, had to wait in lines 8 hours long to cast their ballots. Some of them never got their absentee ballots. Machines were malfunctioning. Anything that could go wrong went wrong. And we've got to remember that a lot of this is by design. There is a Republican-led voter suppression machine going on right now that has unfortunately become part of the strategy for re-election. And this is disproportionately disempowering black and brown Americans. But every American has a stake in making sure we get it right. There's also good news in Georgia. And the good news is that it's a battleground state now. You've got 2 U.S. Senate races on the ballot. It's the only state where that's true. You have 2 hotly contested congressional races. Control of the state house is in play. Georgia is changing fast, and there's a chance to put do something that would have been thought unthinkable just a few years ago, just to put the electoral votes of Georgia in play in the presidential election too. This is one of the reasons why we need to make sure that we never write off any state in the union as a permanently red state. It also means we all need to be part of pushing for our democracy to actually be a democracy. We spoke so much about freedom, democracy, and security in the campaign, and those issues have only become more urgent. I think a lot of Americans, and frankly a lot of Americans who wish to be white allies to black leaders and black voices at a time like this, are figuring out exactly how to make a positive difference. Black voices are and should be leading the way in so many dimensions of the struggle right now. But no one can be silent. And it is in fact profoundly unfair to expect black Americans to shoulder the burden of making change alone when so much of what actually has to change is among white Americans and among structures and organizations and political bodies that are dominated by white Americans. And so in wrestling with this myself and trying to make sure that I am there as an ally and that I'm inviting supporters to help do things that are going to make a difference, I'm inviting you to watch this space for organizations that we think can help make a difference, that we can lift up. I'll give you one example. We were talking about democracy in Georgia. Fair Fight Action is an organization that was founded by Stacey Abrams in 2019. This is about advocating for free and fair elections from legislators to state and local officials and in the courts. And they need help. They need support. They need resources. They need their message to be amplified as they continue to secure voting rights across the country. It's also an organization called Black Voters Matter that is working to increase political power in black communities through the ballot box because, as they say, voting allows a community to determine its own destiny. We've been really impressed with the work and want to support the work of the Collective PAC. They launched an organization called the Justice for All Fund. It's working to recruit, train, and fund black judicial, prosecutorial, and attorney general candidates. The idea here is to make sure that not only public defenders, but those on what is considered the prosecutor side of the criminal legal system are progressive, are justice-oriented, and are diverse. And it's, I think, such a timely matter, and I think it deserves attention and support. I want to make sure you know about the National Redistricting Action Fund. This is an organization led by Attorney General Eric Holder. It's the hub for a comprehensive redistricting strategy that is about redistributing, redistricting power that has so often been used to disempower a lot of Americans and have fair districts. And in fair districts, Democrats can compete where they haven't been able to before. There's an organization focused and started in Minneapolis called Reclaim the Block. And its goal is to move money from the police department into other areas of the city's budget that promote community health and safety. Right now they've got a petition that is about making sure that funds go where they're going to make the biggest difference in people's lives. And Color of Change, advocating racial justice partly in public policy, but also on the private side too, and making sure that corporate and political decisions are made with justice, racial and economic justice in mind. So these are just some of the organizations that are already doing such important work, and there are a lot of ways you can get involved. Donate, of course, if you can, and no amount is too big or too small for a moment like this based on what you can do. You can volunteer your time, and the social media space is so important right now. You can follow and share what these groups are doing on social media. When it comes to securing our democracy, you can sign up to be a poll worker. I think there's a demographic skew that could be diversified when it comes to poll workers in this country. And if you care about democracy, one way to be on the front lines is to literally be on the front lines helping make sure elections go well. And make sure that you've got a plan and that you're informed about the voting laws in your state, because we can't get to November and be taken by surprise by problems at the polling places, not after what we've seen in Georgia, and by the way, have seen in Wisconsin and in other places. So much depends on ensuring that the elections take place in a way that doesn't disempower or disenfranchise anyone. And so it's important for you to talk to your friends and your family and anyone who will listen about the importance of voting, but also arming yourself with information so that your vote is counted. But my point is we need an all-of-the-above approach at a moment like this, as we are wrestling with some of the toughest and deepest challenges that our country faces. And I want to encourage you to let me know groups and efforts and causes and candidates that you think deserve attention and support too. Whether it's candidates you think would be a great choice for the Win the Era effort. We've endorsed 22 fantastic candidates. We're going to endorse more in the future. Organizations that are pursuing racial justice, voices that need to be lifted up. I hope that you'll share some of those that you think we as a community of supporters can do something about. I also want to reflect on Pride. First of all, happy Pride to everyone out there, whether you have participated in a Pride event every year for a long time, or whether you're watching this and you're not out yet and don't feel that you can safely come out. However you are encountering Pride, I want you to know how much support that there is for you, how many people are rooting for you to succeed. This is also time to remember that Pride got started as a protest effort and largely in response to police violence. So it's a good moment for us to remember that we walk in the footsteps of leaders, including black queer leaders, black trans women like Marsha P. Johnson, who made such a difference in the ability of this movement to grow and to flourish. And at a time like this, solidarity and allyship are so incredibly important. This is a moment that I think is bringing us face to face with so many of the weaknesses and the fissures and the challenges that are deep in the American system. Also means we can do something about it. It means that if we get this right in this moment that calls all of us to make a difference, that we could look back at this moment, the beginning of the 2020s, and see a better future that began right here with us. This is so much bigger than just one campaign. Don't get me wrong, I'm all in to make sure that Joe Biden is the next president, that we defeat Donald Trump, and a lot of other campaigns that I'm involved in. But this goes beyond politics altogether. This is about what kind of country we believe we are, what kind of country we want to live in, what we are going to do, so that by the time we are looking back on how the 2020s began, we can look at this as the beginning of America demonstrating beyond the shadow of a doubt that black lives are valued equally. We can look at this as the beginning of a turning point in the life of this country and its ability to deliver better, more equitable outcomes. None of us can be on the sidelines. And if you're feeling pressure on your optimism about America, just remember that for all of her faults, America's most remarkable property has been its ability to reform and change itself. And that part really is up to us. So I just wanted to share that with you. Watch this space for more ideas and efforts to lift up organizations doing good work and ways that all of us can be part of the solution. And I hope you're staying safe out there. Take care.